Welcome to the Shorten Anime channel. Today we'll dive into the latest episode of The Great Ruler. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support the channel. The Great Ruler Season 1, Episode 21. Buzz! The moment the faintly discernible light tower appeared within Mu-Chen's body, a special fluctuation gushed out. This fluctuation was not particularly powerful, but it caused Ji Zong to tremble when it reached him. His eyes seemed to have instantly entered a trance. However, this trance only lasted a moment, and Ji Zong quickly recovered from it as he let out a cold humph. This Mu-Chen was definitely different from the ordinary use. No wonder the Liu territory paid him to come. However, no matter how much he struggled, it was not easy for him to make up for the humongous gap between them. Swish! Ji Zong's arm trembled, and the long sword formed from the rain instantly expanded. A violent spiritual energy surged out and forcibly shattered the two limitless death seals as it stabbed towards Mu-Chen's shoulder with lightning speed. Ji Zong's attack was extremely vicious, and it passed through the open gaps of the two limitless death seals. Mu-Chen was late in defending due to this, and the rain longsword pierced into Mu-Chen's shoulder. But the moment it made contact with Mu-Chen, the vague light tower began to tremble within Mu-Chen's body and caused the rain longsword to stop. Thus, the sword tip was the only part that stabbed into Mu-Chen's shoulder and allowed the blood to flow out. Ji Zong watched the scene and let out a faint smile while thinking that the situation was already over. His eyes stared at the boy, yet under the drizzle, the pair of black eyes stared at him like a deep black hole. From those eyes, a wordless sense of danger unexpectedly filled Ji Zong's heart. The boy in front of him did not care about the longsword that stabbed into his shoulder. The pain didn't even manage to make his eyebrows tremble. His hands shook and a cold light flashed by. In the end, the umbrella that Ji Zong was holding in his left hand flew away under his astonished eyes. The umbrella landed on the ground powerlessly and caused a little splash. Ji Zong stared as he watched the scene before turning around to look at the boy, who retreated backwards. Blood constantly flowed out from the boy's shoulders. "You actually saw through it," Ji Zong's mouth muttered, and his face became serious. The boy in front of him had actually managed to notice the flaw of his array. Not only did he make him tremble, the boy had the courage to use his own body as a lure in order to make him reveal an opening. Moreover, he even managed to take advantage of this opening and cut apart his umbrella without any hesitation. At the same time, it also cut apart his connection to the array. "You lost," Mu-Chen said to Ji Zong as he grinned and laughed. Amongst his laughter, the rain suddenly stopped. The surrounding air seemed to flash, and Mu-Chen began to hear vague human sounds entering his ear. It was still the same street. However, there were no traces of rain on the ground. The sun even shone brightly in the sky, and in the distance, a few figures began to emerge. It was evident that the consciousness-mesmerizing array that he had enveloped this place with had been destroyed. Mu-Chen stared in front of him. At that place, Ji Zong was examining him with a serious expression. Then he let out a laugh as he said, "You're quite an amazing boy. I never expected that Mu Feng would actually have such an excellent son." Mu-Chen smiled, but his eyes remained on alert. "Next up, do you still plan on attacking?" "The array has already been destroyed. I can't kill you now. The following events have nothing to do with me, but you should behave yourself from now on," Ji Zong said as he let out a faint smile and stared deeply at Mu-Chen. After he finished speaking, he turned around immediately and slowly walked away. Mu-Chen's eyes remained fixed on Ji Zong as he disappeared in the distance. However, his eyebrows were still tense. This was because the sense of danger he was feeling did not completely disappear. It was evident that the Liu territory had made up their mind and did not plan on letting him return safely to the Mu territory. This Ji Zong, he really is useless. Just when Mu-Chen surveyed the surroundings vigilantly, two cold gazes penetrated through the gap of a certain street and watched the young boy's figure. "Third uncle, what should we do now?" a handsome boy beside the middle-aged man asked. From the familiar appearance, it was obvious that it was Liu Mubai, and the middle-aged man was Liu Ming. It was lucky that I never fully trusted that Ji Zong. I only wanted to use him to test Mu-Chen. Naturally, if he managed to kill him, it would be the best. However, since he failed, we will have to do it ourselves." Liu Ming let out a cold humph and said, "No matter what, we cannot let Mu-Chen bring that item back to the Mu territory. Otherwise, the Liu territory's long-prepared plan will be disrupted. However, if you were to attack him now, you would probably cause the people from Northern Spiritual Academy to come, Liu Mubai said softly. Then we must get rid of him quickly. Liu Ming's eyes flashed. He gestured with his hand and 10 figures appeared behind him. These people were covered with an ominous aura, and judging from the spiritual energy fluctuation, they were all people at the spiritual rotation stage initial phase. Move in! Yes! The 10 figures responded quietly and their bodies flashed as they disappeared into the darkness. On the street, Mu Chen, who was glancing at his surroundings, focused his gaze in front of him. He saw 10 figures suddenly appearing and surrounding him. 10 spiritual rotation stage, initial phase experts. Mu Chen noticed the 10 figures and his heart trembled slightly. The Liu territory really wanted to kill him. Although Liu Ming and the others did not dare to personally attack since it was the Northern Spiritual City, they still prepared a big meal for him. I must not fight against them. I must escape from this situation. This idea flowed through Mu Chen's mind, and he hurriedly backed away. No matter how strong he was, he did not believe that he would be able to defeat 10 spiritual rotation stage veterans by himself. Swish! However, these 10 individuals charged straight at him. Their spiritual energy erupted out and a killing intent emitted out from them. Because of this commotion, a ruckus appeared in the distance. It was evident that the commotion here was discovered. Damn it! Mu Chen cursed loudly within his heart when he noticed how swift these fellows were. The spiritual energy within his body gushed out, and the 2 black lights flashed on his arm. It was apparent that he was planning to take a risk and desperately stall for time. Swish! The 10 figures quickly approached, and they were highly in sync. When they split up, they had already formed an encirclement and completely blocked all routes of escape for Mu Chen. 2 sharp long swords directly rushed towards Mu Chen's vital points. Mu Chen's eyes firmly gazed at the violent attacks, and the dark black light on his arms became even denser. However, just when he was about to take a step forward and attack first, a sudden cry rang out. It was like thunder as it resounded out. Just where did these gangsters come from? They actually dared to hurt out Mu territory's little lord. Die! Accompanying the thundering sound, a figure swept over like lightning. In a few seconds, he appeared in front of Mu Chen and waved his sleeves around. A powerful spiritual flowed out like a stream, and the 10 figures flew backwards as they were all gravely injured. Uncle Joe! Mu Chen stared at the familiar figure in front of his eyes and was instantly overjoyed. They have finally arrived. The thin, middle-aged man in front of Mu Chen was Zhou Ye. At this moment, his hawk-like eyes were fixed at the 10 figures that were blasted away. However, he did not pursue them and remained beside Mu Chen in order to protect him. Go and kill them all for me. Zhou Ye stared coldly at the 10 figures and immediately let out a cry. A response quickly erupted out from nearby, and dozens of figures flew over quickly toward the 10 figures. Seeing this, the 10 figures gritted their teeth and swung their sleeves. Smoke began to appear, and it concealed their body as they retreated. Bastard! From a certain location on that street, Liu Ming watched as Zhou Ye suddenly appeared. He instantly became furious, and his face became ashen. He didn't expect that Zhou Ye would suddenly appear and deal with the situation right when it was a critical moment for Mu Chen. Third uncle? Liu Mubai frowned. He did not expect that the successive plans would have failed. Return back to the Liu territory and tell everything to your father. I want to see whether or not Mu Feng has the guts to interfere with the Liu territory's plans, Liu Ming said sullenly, and immediately waved his hand. He turned around and left. Liu Mubai could only sigh helplessly when he saw this. His gaze passed through the gap and watched as the people from the Mu territory protected Mu Chen. A cold chill passed through his eyes. Lucky boy. Consider yourself lucky this time, because next time, I probably won't give you a chance. On the street, Zhou Ye was in front as he protected Mu Chen. His hawk-like eyes glanced around at the surroundings. After a while, his body gradually relaxed as he could feel the killing intent beginning fading away. Dozens of figures suddenly appeared and surrounded Mu Chen and Zhou Ye. Little Lord, Master Zhou. Little Mu, are you all right? After feeling the killing intent disappear, Zhou Ye was relieved and asked Mu Chen as he turned around. Mu Chen shook his head with a smile and said, "It was great that Uncle Zhou arrived quickly. What happened? I received a message that Su Ling brought over and immediately rushed to the Northern Spiritual City. Just who were those people? Why would they attack you?" Zhou Ye's face was a bit grim. Mu Chen was the little lord of the Mu territory. Just which kind of people would be so courageous to actually attack him in the northern spiritual city? It's probably the men from the Liu territory, Mu Chen said. Liu territory? Zhou Yi's face changed. He immediately asked suspiciously, although we aren't in friendly terms with the Liu territory, we were always fairly restrained towards each other. Why would they? Uncle Joe, we'll talk about this after we get back to the Mu territory. I've ruined something important of theirs, Mu Chen said with a slight smile. The commotion here wasn't small. Thus, the Northern Spiritual Academy people would soon be here. Although Mu Chen knew that it was done by the Liu territory, he did not have any evidence to prove it. Therefore, this matter could only be dropped. Yes. When Zhou Ye heard this, he nodded and waved his palms. He brought Mu Chen with him directly to the transverse spiritual array. With Zhou Ye's protection, no trouble occurred. It seems that the Liu territory understood that the matter of killing Mu Chen was impossible now and temporarily gave up. Mu City, within the Mu estate. The Liu territory attacked Little Mu. Inside the living room, Mu Feng's smiling face instantly turned cold as he heard Zhou Ye talk about it. He fiercely stood up. What are the people of the Liu territory thinking of doing? Do they want to completely rip open their faces to the Mu territory? Right now, they probably don't want to completely rip open their faces. Otherwise, they wouldn't have invited Jizong first. Only after that, they had no choice but to attack me by themselves. Mu Chen smiled beside him. Jizong? Mu Feng's face sank. Beside him, Zhou Ye also frowned and asked, he also attacked you? Yes, I was caught in the array that he arranged. However, I broke through it later on and he left. Mu Chen nodded. You broke his array? Mu Feng and Zhou Ye were stunned. They looked in surprise at Mu Chen. Naturally, they have heard of Jizong's name. Although his spiritual rotation stage initial phase strength wasn't much, his identity of a rank 1 spiritual array master was still quite troubling. However, the array that he formed was actually broken by Mu Chen? Anyhow, I am still someone at the spiritual movement stage late phase, okay? Mu Chen laughed when he saw their surprised expressions. Spiritual movement stage late phase? Mu Feng was surprised again. He nodded immediately with satisfaction. Although Mu Chen had lost a year of time for cultivation due to the spiritual road, his talents were definitely great. Right now, he was catching up. So what if you're at the spiritual movement stage? If Jizong was to activate his array, even a person at the spiritual rotation stage late phase would find it tricky. You were able to break his array with your strength? Even though Mu Feng was quite pleased, he still scolded Mu Chen immediately when he noticed his proud face. Jizong probably thought the same way as you, Dad. That's why I was able to break through his array. Mu Chen pouted and said, it seems that Mu Chen utilized Jizong's thoughts of underestimating him. Zhou Ye smiled and said, this wisdom is definitely hard to have. Just what part of this boy is praiseworthy? Mu Feng smiled for a while before turning serious again. He said, why would the Liu territory attack you? And they even chose to do it in the northern spiritual city. If they were discovered, they would incite the rage of the Northern Spiritual Academy. With their usual style of doing things, they would not commit such a reckless act. Moreover, the spots for the 5 great academies are coming soon. It isn't wise of them to offend the Northern Spiritual Academy now. A while back, the Blood Slaughter group seemed to have stolen something from the Liu territory. Then, they were hunted down by the Liu territory all the way to the Northern Spiritual Field. Mu Chen carefully explained the events that he had met in the Northern Spiritual Field to them. He then revealed the mustard seed bracelet on his wrist and said, this item was stolen by me and they probably know it. Therefore, they were afraid of me bringing it back to the Mu territory. So that's why they planned on attacking me in the Northern Spiritual City. Oh? Mu Feng and Zhou Ye exchanged glances with each other. A hint of seriousness could be seen from their eyes. They had, in fact, heard of the matter between the Blood Slaughter group and Liu territory, but they weren't too concerned about it. However, it seems that it wasn't that simple now since the Liu territory valued it that greatly. Although the mustard seed bracelet is quite valuable, it isn't something that the Liu territory would place a high value on it. Mu Feng smiled and said, is it something inside of it? Mu Chen nodded. He gripped his hand as an ancient copper piece appeared and said, it's probably this item. However, I've taken a look at it, but I didn't find anything special. Mu Feng received the old copper piece from Mu Chen's hand, and his palm brushed past the engravings. He pondered for a moment before flipping it over. When he noticed the black giant bird engraving, he paused for a while as if he was thinking about something. "This thing, it seems a little like," Mufeng muttered, and his eyes narrowed. "It seems a little like the Nine Netherbird." "Nine Netherbird?" Zhou Ye was shocked and said, "It can't be?" "Nine Netherbird." Mu Chen was also astonished. He could not help but ask, "Is it the Nine Netherbird that is ranked 11th on the Myriad Beast Records Earth ranking?" "Judging from the appearance, it is quite similar." Mu Feng nodded. He thought for a moment and gripped his palm tightly. A blazing light gathered in his hand and finally formed into a palm-sized firebird. The firebird's eyes were extremely sharp. Its wings were like a dragon's wings, and fiery red dragon scales covered its razor-sharp talons. A powerful, imposing manner emitted out from it. "Is this the dragon firebird's soul essence that Dad ingested?" Mu Chen looked curiously at the exquisite firebird. This was a true heavenly beast. It was ranked 85th on the Myriad Beast Records Earth ranking. It was many times stronger compared to Teacher Mo's Golden Thunderwolf and Teacher Shi's Rock Turtle Lion. The dragonfire bird stood on Mu Feng's palm and gently approached the ancient copper piece. When it saw the engraving of the black bird, fear appeared in its sharp eyes. It retreated back a step as if it was extremely terrified and fearful of it. To be able to make the dragonfire bird this afraid and with this appearance, it is probably the Nine Netherbird. Mu Feng finally confirmed it when he saw this scene. Nine Netherbird. It was born in the northern lands. Its wings could cover the mountains, and the netherworld light could devour the sun and the moon. This phrase that described the Nine Netherbird flowed into Mu Chen's heart. He could not resist in smacking his lips. This power was rather hard to imagine. If it truly is the Nine Netherbird, it's no wonder that the Lu territory would think so highly of it. If a spirit stage powerhouse was to obtain the Nine Netherbird's soul essence, their strength would probably become quite insane, Mu Feng exclaimed. However, if it is truly a Nine Netherbird, would the Lu territory really be qualified to challenge it with their strength? Mu Chen frowned. If it was truly a Nine Netherbird, it was impossible for the Lu territory to hunt it, even with all their strength. The secret behind that should be within this copper piece. Mu Feng let out a faint smile, and a powerful spiritual energy gushed out suddenly. It flowed into the copper piece like a flood. Mu Chen had also done this action before, however, there was no response. However, it did not mean that Mu Feng would fail when Mu Chen failed. After all, Mu Feng was a genuine spirit stage late-phase powerhouse. He was considered as one of the strongest within the entire northern spiritual realm. The powerful spiritual energy gushed in, and the silent copper piece finally made a commotion. The light was released out and formed a screen of light in midair. A vast black forest seemed to appear within the light screen. At the same time, a humongous black bird was currently crying to the sky in the depths of the barren hills and turbulent waters. An overwhelming black light swept out from its body. Moreover, the black light seemed to enshroud that location and even covered up the lights. The black light became denser and finally turned into a black flame as it wrapped the bird with it. The sounds of its cry became more and more shrill. Then the scene changed. The giant black bird's body was rapidly turning small within the dense flame. With a final sorrowful cry, it turned into a giant black egg and landed in the depths of the black forest. The scene ended at this location. Then a complex route appeared. It seemed to be a map. It is indeed the Nine Netherbird. Mu Feng took a deep breath and his eyes could not conceal his shock as he said, and this Nine Netherbird was actually attempting to evolve. However, it failed. Mu Chen's eyes jumped. The Nine Netherbird was already quite amazing. If it were to evolve further, then wouldn't it qualify in the Myriad Beast Records Heaven ranking? It seems that the Liu territory is really planning to head for the Nine Netherbird. We must not let them get it. Zhou Ye's face turned serious as he spoke. If the Liu territory managed to obtain the Nine Netherbird, their strength would definitely increase. At that moment, they probably wouldn't endure the Mu territory anymore with their personality. Then we must seize it as well. Mu Chen's eyes flashed. His eyes remained firmly fixed on the ancient copper piece. Dad, what place is this? It seems quite familiar. When Mu Feng heard this, he let out a gentle smile and said with sharp eyes, Of course it's familiar. This is because it is within the northern spiritual realm. This place should probably be the Northern Spiritual Realm's Black Eerie Swamp. That wraps up the content for today's episode. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel to get notifications for the next episode. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.